Hey everyone, down here from the comic studio of this one course. So it's probably back into the oven break line for many more like other things as well. So welcome back to Comic Studio inside of Cookie Run franchise oven break lines or whatever it does absolutely to do this because the last time we just about to eventually having for a little bit of surprise because we just eventually forgot the cookie dried who just absolutely spawned out of nowhere, and instead of Rogue Fort would ever try to do this whatever it possibly wanted. So eventually we might able to scroll down and look something probably not for new, because as you can see for down here, or probably in this previous video, we just did done anything about for this custom backgrounds with their motor coaches going for some sort of for a gingerbread kids or some sort of other kinds of cookie kids into school. This is where they headed all the way to Kerchalot Height or Canterlot High, probably that we just probably to say, and I just nothing that I just could be try to say too much because I'm extremely confused for this for many more reasons, and they goes off for some sort of for presidents or for some sort of multiple teachers in Crystal Prep. So we have just completely done this for the Catch a Lot High because I'm afraid I might be able to discard it, and it was actually for some sort of grade because as you can see down here, and because I already know about for this cookie run was owned by Dev Sisters that also uses cookie run front by Dev Sisters as well for the many more oven break sprites, and probably never gonna be probably to do this because for the original cookie comic creator is absolutely gonna be going here, which is actually going for the creator studio instead of doing like this for whatever it does, because actually that we just didn't never gonna be trying to do this but able to do for this kind of user comics or showing more comics whatever to do this about themselves, because we have probably right over here casualties or many other kinds of D cells we just completely able to show off for their kinds of all kinds of styles like this one. So we'll never be able to should be able to add like this until that taking all over, not all of Earthbread as well. It should be able to took over Equestria and Kerchalot, and I mean Canterlot as well. So probably this kid should be on for such as the great main line as well. I think that should be able to deserve for the freedom train as well. So here we go. We're gonna be jumping in to the comic creator as well. So as we just already have for the showcase that we already searched, or nothing is just gonna be trying to find here as well. So I'll be ready to do this, and we'll be gonna be taking for a quicker look as we completely load it. This is the Cookie Comic Creator. Create comics with absolutely in-game characters and send them to your friends, because a new version of Cookie Comic Creator is available, because we're going to be checking out for just a little bit back, because this is where you came back into the comic studio, because if you just absolutely try to do this, we have an absolutely advanced features, one thing, and privacy policy, the official comic Discord, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and probably for the comic creator studio, whatever by itself to do this. And because Cookie Comic Creator is a fan project for this unfulfilled, uninfinited with Dev Sisters, because unfortunately I'm unable to say this because in terms of English or skill issues or English problems, what I just probably to say this. Please support the team on the Cookie Run website, because this site is used for Cookie Run fronts by Dev Sisters, and it was licensed for its main studio as well. It's made by Shure, and it looks like for probably look like this. If you have any suggestions, find a bug, message me, and send to ask or like license probably to do this like we said. So we have for just like an old features for starting out with the characters, because instead of the characters we might able to do this, but I'm gonna be using for such as custom sprite, which is actually pretty easy to do this. We have two things to do this, two categories, because in the last video we got three categories. We have the oven break line, kingdom, and absolutely added for some sort of like these cells, because later on there are three categories for today. We got the oven break line, the kingdom is transform and changing colors, and the puzzle world is absolutely for this puzzle world looks like probably this. This will be a game become a general side games tabs in the future, but right now it's puzzle world work in progress. So it's absolutely never gonna be pretty able to see this. It's absolutely pretty completed, and looks like I might be able to head back to for what able to do for just around here back into the comic studio. Alright, we're gonna be making things for its very first to start instead of a backgrounds, because we have for a advanced features, because everything that says we cannot be able to do this, because that doesn't be able to change colors, because slightly as well we have a little bit much more things to do this as well. So to kind of sort for release new of those other kinds of these things and recently used, not starting to A to Z, because we're going to be starting from every release, and for the newest released we just completely never be able to come around for many more of those cells. So it's time to add it for another row to make for such as one thing, because isn't gonna be trying to share like anything as well, because this is where if you just probably to import or export for some sort of like these cells, because how impossible that we're gonna be if I'm gonna be pressing import that we just probably try to say this, because unfortunately the JSON file isn't like that exists. To export this, I don't really think that I'm just never be able to be trying to do so as well. So it's time to add it for itself. You can add column, we just possibly that we added, remove a column as well, and I'm probably not to do this as well. You can copy panel and save image, that we just absolutely try to do this by their own selves. So you can select to paste everything as well. So I'm probably to do for just copy image, or I'm not allowed to do this because unfortunately that doesn't able to be working for just only whatsoever. So I might gonna be trying to do this is what I actually needed. We needed to do this as well. So as we move into some sort of images, unfortunately there is one missing picture. Unfortunately it has got to be removed. It has already been removed, which is a little bit possible. So we have for just only one thing that we never slide to be left before. We have the game locations. The basic backdrops was absolutely pretty common, because instead of this probably for just taking over Earthred, we'll now be able to take over Equestria by going all over to do this in school. So I'll be starting with some kind of like this crystal, like this thing as well. The crystal things, whatever, for just in sort of the crystal town. And next one that will be arriving in Ponyville. So this is actually the Ponyville looks like that I might be able to spawn or added some sort of automobiles. Even recently though, that I might gonna be trying to spawn like many other kinds of their selves, and we spawn another custom image. It shouldn't be another one for just many more like these things. I cannot believe that must be pretty too hard. That must be some sort of a cafeteria, just like in the Character Lot High from over here. And will not be able to slightly taking over the city isn't going to be over here. For just I'm gonna be trying to scroll a little bit further down, and we'll see the Character Lot City. That must be Radiator Springs. I'm not sure, that wasn't going to be probably Radiator Springs. So that is the last town that we just eventually spawn over here. So it's time to add for some automobiles, for some kinds of custom sprites, whatever we try to say. We're going to be spawning some kinds of automobiles like that for. As we recently going to be trying to add for some 2014 models. We found for some sort of kinds of vehicles as well, and I'm probably to do this that we're gonna be spawning a 2016 Chrysler 200 Silver. Instead, we're gonna be spawning a black vehicle for some sort of a Toyota Tacoma or a Hilux itself. That does not gonna be pretty existed for one thing as well. So before you might able to suggest, I'll be recommended to shrink it down a little bit for one thing. So there we go, we actually added for cookies, and this is one common thing. This is gingerbread, and probably that is absolutely wasn't pretty like this. Only one thing is gonna be trying to spawn or summon gingerbread, who is protecting for some kind of other worlds. How many gingerbreads we got? Even for its lot, freezing, or many more kinds of pre-removed sprites as well. So we got some kind of gnomes for riding a black vehicle. And I really don't think it was not. Let's go for another spawn for a kinds of custom sprites or many things whatsoever.